Greetings everyone, this is Chuuni back from the Chuuni clan. This is yet another Shadowverse Evolve video. This time we're going to be going over none other than what went down at the Shadowverse Evolve World Invitational 2023 World Finals, the conclusion of Shadowverse Evolve English's tournament series. So let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, so a total of 68 players entered into the conclusion of the big event. 68 players from throughout the world, those who qualified across both a shop qualifier into a regional qualifier, and then was one of the three to represent that region. First place had the full expense trip paid for. Second and third will have to find their own way there. And then there are those who qualified through the few last chance qualifiers there were. We had 3 in North and Latin America. Then there were some in Europe, some in, or like 1 or 2 in Europe, and I think 1 or 2 in Asia, Oceania, to make like a grand total of 5 to 7, and don't quote me on that. And yep, 68 players have committed to show up to the grand finale. We find that there were, of the 68 players who came, 22 of them, or around 32%, played Uma Musume Pretty Derby. Most of them were the classic combo build where you just assemble Guy with Scarlet, 1 or 2 vodkas, and then go to town. Hopefully the opponent does not answer that, and you just win the game from there, while also making sure you counter your opponent's earlier game shenanigans with the likes of Lamp Lit Knight of a Witch training to be, and make some noise. Then moving from there, we see that 16 of them, or about 23%, brought the discard Dragoncraft mid-range. It was established as of Booster 602, Ring of Bahamut, with the likes of Dragon Song Flute and Draco Master's Rights to work in tandem with one another to have costly discards, get benefits from discards, and do burn damage off of the likes of Draco Master's Rights, and he also gets buffed in the collaboration set 01 Uma Musume Pretty Derby with the likes of Riko Kashimoto, Plan Perfection, and Ogre Cap for extra damage. Then, not too far from that, 14 players believed in bringing the Leonidas mid-range Swordcraft build. It's about 21% of players. This is a deck where you just simply try to assemble a powerful board or enough storm damage from being boosted by the likes of Leonidas Resolve, Token Emulate after an evolved Leonidas goes down, and having access to the likes of Unbridled Fury and Alexander to clean up some very disgusting boards is also a very powerful tactic. And then from there, 6 players, or about 9% of players, brought in some form of mid-range forest craft. This plays the likes of Crystalia Kia to be able to assemble a powerful board with the Crystalia E token and try to aim to getting a bunch of damage that way in the early game, and then pivot towards the likes of Silence Suzuka to set the opponent back a turn with her evolve, while also doing 5 storm damage with that. And of course, ending games with the likes of Silverbolt from Booster Set 01 Advent of Genesis. And then there were 4 people, or about 6% of players, who brought Control Haven Craft. Whether this be the Heavenly Aegis based version that is playing to have this gigantic follower that requires 4 to 5 cards to deal with in a lot of cases, or where it just be just some sort of Havencraft build that just aims to heal a ton, answer board a ton and whittle down the opponent until they just don't have a win con left and finish them off from there. And that represents 58 out of the 68 players. We also saw that there were 10 players who were bringing in other kinds of games. There were some people, the round 1 feature match, I believe, featured some kind of, I think, face runecraft build. And then round 2 featured the classic aggro abysscraft build that had a lot of its key parts from Bushiroad 01 Epic Genesis and the abysscraft starter deck. The likes of Ambling Wraith, Skeleton Fighter, Cerberus, and try to end games with all that burn damage with Razor Claw, pseudo burn damage with Phantom Howl, and real burn damage with Demonic Strike. So it was quite the spectacle for them to go through the 6 grueling rounds towards the top 8 single elimination cut, where we see the conversion. It's kind of about what we saw with the attendance, where half of the top 8 was some kind of variant on the Uma Musume Pretty Derby universe. I think 3 of these were the classic combo type. I think one of them was actually playing what is the mill turbo to aim the pop off 7 centimeters ahead as early as possible, while also being able to use the likes of raindrops, something self-reflection for a 2-drop where necessary. Then there were 2 discard Dragoncraft players in the top 8. We saw 2 of them being featured. We had Gerardo, and then we had the eventual champion Daniel Yanto, who were among them. And then there was also 1 Havencraft player, which was more of a kind of hinge on followers like Kaguya. They just play a bunch of answers to deal with opponent's boards and making sure to stay healthy with the likes of Acolyte's Light and Dark Offering. And then you have Forestcraft, Bellaboo's runner-up combo mid-range-ish Forestcraft deck that was kind of doing more of the classic assemble a bunch of pixie followers and then convert them all into Thornburst tokens with the likes of Rose Queen. So we see that Forestcraft as a class could steal games from underneath its opponent's rug with the likes of its powerful tempo swing cards like Silent Suzuka, or is just able to threaten a bunch of board by being able to spawn a bunch of forests, whether it be in the form of pixies, Crystalia Kia. We saw Bellaboo specifically perform this play where she was able to spawn 2 Crystalia Kia and 2 Crystalia Eve using the likes of, I think it involved Nature's Guidance to be able to do that all over again and make sure the board can have the correct number of slots to fulfill that board establishing. And that was a very powerful play from her that we saw during feature matches. And failing to have an answer in time for boards like these is a very easy way to just end up losing a Forestcraft because of its ability to just run away with a bunch of burn damage on you. Bellaboo was kind of going more for beat you in the face early and then finish you off with Thorn Burst, burn spam, and go from there. She was able to prove that this style of deck, that she took to the last chance qualifier at San Gabriel, California, got one of the top 3 spots there, and then went alongside at least the champion of that event who played Uma Musume to head over to Worlds from that last chance qualifier. And we see that Forestcraft could be, if piloted by a very knowledgeable individual, someone who really knows their matchups, someone who knows the key, strong, and weak points alike of each and every class, including a mirror, will be able to pilot this class to great success. On top of that, we were able to see that the likes of Dragoncraft and Havencraft being able to have access to cards that answer boards very easily. Havencraft has Blackened Scripture and acolytes and the information acolytes like, as well as John the Arc and Dragoncraft with its what I like to call its trinity of Blazing Breath, Serpent Wrath, and Conflagration on top of being able to play the likes of Dragon Warrior to be able to wipe boards. And of course we have Rico Kashimoto playing Perfection, as another very powerful 2-for-1 when you start with an empty board of followers. These two classes have been able to prove that they can still compete. They could handle the likes of the ever popular Uma Musume, Pretty Derby, where, primarily the combo gets are able to make a big board and hope that they run away with it. Otherwise, it's wiped, and these two guys can just kind of take the game from there. And not to mention, both Dragoncraft and Havencraft decks that we saw do play their fair share of heal. As I said, Havencraft plays the likes of Dark Offering as its main heal, and Dragoncraft plays primarily, get the heal one off a critical message rights fanfare. It does play Dark Angel Olivia. It does play. It's one of evolved Shenlong, since you can only play the one regular Shenlong. But some people have been cheeky. They're playing Sage. Maybe they're playing Dragon Tamer Evolved to be able to do Shenlong Evolved again for another heal 5. And we did see some decks during the later part, primarily the LCQ leg of the World Invitational circuit, play the like of Super Creek, and some playing even Lucifer from Booster Set 01 Genesis. So what we learned is that the format was overall not it wasn't really primarily dominant. We didn't see any one archetype be over half of the competition, not even a third. Almost made Pretty Derby, got pretty close at 32%, but it was not quite there at 1/3. So we see that it was for the most part fairly even, and the fact that people who qualified were willing to believe in rogue picks like Aggro Abysscraft or Face Runecraft, they were confident that this could be the deck to help them cinch that title of world champion. It just goes to show that even with the likes of Uma Musume Pretty Derby existing, it helps that, yes, it does help that it's preemptive restrictions along with the earlier than in JP restriction of Shenlong and Dragoncraft. Yes, these do help to make other decks a tad more viable, and that definitely did help. We did see that there were times where some of these rogue decks could have gotten in and do their thing. Yes, this format before the Booster Set 03 Flame of Levitating ends up shifting the game kind of more to a decisions matter more sort of format. Yes, that format based around Uma Musume Pretty Derby, its products more so. That format, yes, it's kind of more of a. It could be arguing, I could see why people were going, yes, this is kind of a whoever draws the better hand, whoever draws the better cards first, pretty much all the ways. We did kind of see a bit of a blowout at the best of one champion, the battle for champion between Bellaboo representing Forest Craft and Daniel Yanko representing Dragoncraft. Yes, we saw that Daniel Yanko did draw the nuts earlier and quicker before Bellaboo did. Bellaboo was kind of forced to top deck towards the end, so it didn't quite work out for her. Yes, these are a bit of a concern, but as the game develops, as the game moves on into Flame of Levitating and beyond, we will see that games will be taken by more consideration when it comes to what players know about the playing field, what players know about the lines of play that their opponents can do, and what players know about the choices that they could make. And it's gonna kind of become more of who could outplay the player sort of deal. People are gonna have to end up knowing their deck so well that it's gonna be less about who opens the better hand and more about who could just really maintain a strong pace of play, a good consistent flow of play across many grueling rounds, as we go into the likes of the Bushiroad Spring Fest of the year 2024, which again, hopefully this video does go out before we end up departing for the first one in Ontario, California. And this will show that people will going to try to assemble teams of not just the possible best decks in the likes of, say, Fable Burnhaven Craft or Heroic Aggro Swordcraft and whatever else, that we're going to start seeing a shift of gameplay, being more towards about players being more deliberate about their decisions and not just going, oh, because I drew such and such card, I just kind of win from there. Yes, it would still happen because this is still a trading card game. Various exist, but from what we know, from what we're seeing in what happened in Japanese Shadowverse Evolve, it should be clear that we are going to see far less of this I top deck the nuts, I'ma win. With that, I hope you all enjoyed watching this post-analysis of sorts of the Shadowverse Evolve World Invitational 2023 World Finals. And guys, now a done deal. We're going to be moving into the Bushiroad Spring Fest, where it's going to be 3-on-3. So with that, thank you all for watching. Continue to embrace the darkness. And if you're got anything you want to, what do you think about the World Finals? I'd like to hear what y'all want to say. Leave it down in the comments below. And we'll catch you all over in the next video. Bye bye.